Hello everyone, Luke here, and today I'm going to be talking about all my hair tests. I'm going to be showing you guys showing my actual hair test, which is pretty exciting, over the last about three and a half years. And I'll be talking about, the ratios, what we can see on the test, what we can learn, and how my healing journey progressed, okay? So let's get started. Pretty exciting, right? Okay, so my very first test, here we are. What do we notice? Poor Luke. Poor newbie Luke, 4 lows, right? So 4 lows, anytime these 4 macros, calcium, magnesium, sodium, potassium, are below their ideals, right? So we see that these are all below their ideals. That is 4 lows, right? So that's a burnout pattern. It's an acupuncture, call it in the tunnel of death, and it's a very yin pattern. Okay, so we see high manganese. Look at that manganese right there. Okay, high manganese. We see high zinc right there. Okay, look at that high zinc level. We see high lead, high cadmium, high aluminum, and a high nickel. Now, especially the most worrisome for me when I first saw this was the cadmium level. Now, I have been a practitioner. Now, I've been doing this for years, and I have never seen a cadmium level this high. So kudos to me, I guess, right? And the reason why we don't see a cadmium level this high is because cadmium is the most toxic element on the test. So it's very poisonous for the body. So your body just can't eliminate it that much of it at a time. And so mine was very high aluminum too, pretty high nickel and lead. I think part of it was I was smoking pot. I have smoked a lot of pot in my time, and I was smoking pot not near as much as I used to, but I was smoking pot when I had this test done. And it's also from probably all the pot that I had smoked before too. Pot is very high in cadmium. I can't say for certain that's where it's all from. I'm sure I already had some of it. Some of it I might have inherited from my mother. But that's pretty discerning. So we have 4 lows, high manganese, high zinc, okay? So that's actually a pretty good sign. High zinc is better than low zinc, okay? So the body will actually use zinc to protect itself. So my body was using zinc, and it was being propped up to protect itself from the cadmium, the nickel, and the aluminum, and manganese, and all these heavy metals I'm full of, okay? And then we also see down here, my sodium potassium ratio is 2.67, okay? We see that right here, okay? Again, that's better than a low ratio, so at least my NAK ratio wasn't in too bad of a spot, okay? And my calcium magnesium ratio right here is also too high, okay? About double where it should be. That's a lifestyle pattern. As I was saying, I was working out a lot of the time, smoking pot, not the healthiest of lives. Okay? So let's go to the next one here and see where I'm at. Okay, here we are. So now we're on the second one. And again, let's see what we can find. Just like we did with the last one. Okay, what do we see? I'm borderline out of 4 lows. Good stuff, okay? So going back to the last test symptoms I had, I didn't really have any bad symptoms except I had a little bit of skin issues like dermatitis, things like that. And, what is that? I don't know. But, the trippiest thing, probably from my first test, when I first started my 4 lows program. So if you don't know, in a 4 lows program, it's designed to basically make the body rest. The first 2 days I started taking the calcium magnesium supplements to help my body heal. I slept 16 hours both days. I slept 12 hours and took a 4-hour nap. Then the next day, I slept 12 hours and took about a 3-hour nap. The first 2 days. That's just how over-revved and how exhausted my nervous system was. It was insane. So right here we see calcium's at 41. So this is a borderline 4 lows, about a 3 lows pattern, okay? My zinc has come down, okay, so which is an excellent sign. So zinc's down, right? That's good. Manganese is down. Good stuff, right? Aluminum is down. Good stuff. Nickel is down. Cadmium's down. So basically all my heavy metals are down, okay? This is good. It means I'm probably not being exposed to them as much as I was because of my lifestyle and other things. And this is good. This is you'll notice that on almost all my tests, there's forward movement. That's because I do the program pretty well, okay? And I'm meditating, when I see these tests, I'm meditating, I'm doing coffee enemas, I'm using the sauna, I'm doing all these things, okay? And you can see it on the test, all right? And so for this program, I had a borderline 4 lows program. So I wasn't taking quite as much calcium magnesium as a person in a 4 lows was, and I was taking 1 megapan a day. Okay, and see my NAK ratio actually went up. Okay, again, a high ratio is better. Okay, and then my calcium magnesium ratio, look at that, went way down. Better lifestyle. And so on this, I was still on zinc. We use zinc to lower this ratio. So I'm still on zinc, and I was on a borderline 4 lows program with 1 megapan a day and about 2/3 of the typical 4 loads calcium magnesium dosage. Okay, but forward movement, right? Basically out of 4 lows, zinc's down, so it's not being propped up by the heavy metals. It's a truer level. All my heavy metal readings are down. NAK ratio, it went up, which isn't necessarily good because it was high before, but better than being low. And a big improvement in my calcium magnesium ratio due to my lifestyle. Okay, so good stuff right here. Good stuff. Forward movement. This is an important I'm going to be reiterating about this throughout the video. Okay, forward movement, very important. Now this is a lot of forward movement. Okay, if you look at this. This is basically what we would call exploding out of 4 lows. Now certain patterns, like I said, have to do with movement, okay? So coming out of 4 lows on a retest, when you were previously in 4 lows, is forward movement, right? It means like, movement is basically, you can think of it like your life path and on your healing journey. So if there's certain patterns on the test and certain things are happening on the test, you know there's forward movement towards greater health, okay? So we see me coming out of 4 lows, we see a huge elimination of the amigos. Now amigos are oxide forms of minerals that tend to be eliminated together. Okay, so we see myself eliminating a ton of aluminum right here. Look at that aluminum level. Okay, and then we see iron right here. We see manganese right here. We see a big nickel elimination too. So so what I mean by exploding out of 4 lows is basically just all these heavy metal eliminations. Okay, so I'm coming out of 4 lows, my body has more energy, and it's healing, and it's eliminating all these metals. Okay, aluminum 4.86, iron. Look at that, me eliminating all that iron, manganese. Okay, so your body needs iron, right? It needs manganese. But your body will absorb oxide forms of minerals in order to stimulate the adrenals, and that's part of being a burnout. So as I heal, I'm eliminating these metals, okay? My zinc's up a little bit. My zinc is going up to protect me from this dump, if that makes sense. So like I talked about, the body will raise zinc to protect itself from heavy metals being eliminated. So as I'm eliminating all these metals, the body's raising my zinc in order to protect itself, right? Which is actually good. It means that my body is compensating in a healthful way. Okay, huge nickel elimination. Okay, so very forward movement. Okay, and it's forward moving because I'm coming out of 4 lows. I'm eliminating all these metals. Okay, and my NAK ratio is at 3, just a little bit lower than before. You'll see this as a theme on my test. I almost always have a high calcium magnesium ratio. One thing it might be is that I tend to eat too many carbs on my diet. And I don't always follow the most healthful lifestyle. I don't, I've gotten better and better at the program over the years, but I would never say that I've ever done it 100%. Okay, because you can see I do it well, and I do it good enough for on my tests, and it's partially because I'm pretty young. During this test, I'm 23, and so being a younger male, I have more energy to work with to heal myself than some older clients would, or some people that are in worse shape. You know what I mean? I never had any debilitating diseases, or I never had adrenal burnout so bad I couldn't work or anything like that. You know what I mean? And so my body still had a pretty good etheric energy level. Okay, so forward movement on this test. Okay, so let's go to the next one. And then we go to this one. Okay. So I'm still 23. This is in December of 2013. And this is my 4th test that we'll be looking at. Okay. So as we can see, it's a little bit of a settling down pattern. And what I mean by that is it kind of exploded out of 4 lows, and then all these levels drop back down. So we call that a settling down pattern. It means your body's kind of calming down. Oftentimes it happens after a big dump. Your levels will kind of settle down as your body kind of, like, it's almost like, if you think of it like a deep breath, right? Your body expend all this energy to eliminate these metals, and it's just like, it's almost like a resting pattern a little bit. Still eliminating quite a bit of amigos. Aluminum is high, manganese is high. Copper came up a little bit, right? That means better energy. I'm almost starting to eliminate copper a little bit. Zinc's a little bit lower, is good. Okay, and I'm still kind of in this process of eliminating the amigos. I'm at the tail end of it, because you can see on my last test they were a lot higher, almost twice as high. But again, I would say this is again forward movement, because you can tell I'm on the tail end of the dump, and I'm settling down. My phosphorus has always been good. I've always been blessed with a good phosphorus level, luckily. Okay, and I've always been blessed with a pretty good zinc level. Zinc and phosphorus tend to mirror each other. So you'll see often on tests, zinc and phosphorus will be at similar levels, and they'll tend to go up and down together. And someone that has a good zinc level will tend to have a good phosphorus level, and vice versa. Okay. Then we go down to my ratios here. Still at 3.5, so I'm still on zinc, and you'll see that my ratio has actually been high the whole time. So at 3.5, so I'm still on zinc, and then this ratio is a little lower, my calcium magnesium ratio, which is good. Still in slow oxidation. Just like on my last test, I didn't actually mention this, but I was in sympathetic dominance. So I'm still in sympathetic dominance. So sympathetic dominance is any time the potassium level is 4 or lower. So I was, last test and on this test, I'm on a sympathetic dominance program where I'm taking Megapan at 111, which is 1 tablet 3 times a day, along with thyroid complex and zinc, so my sodium potassium ratio and the other standard supplements. Okay, so forward movement again. Okay, very good. And let's go to the next one. Okay, number 5. Let's check it out here. So this is, I'm 24 now, and this is in January, February. This is March, late March of 2014. What do we see? I'll tell you what we see. Another huge amigo dump. And as you can see, this is a theme. I've eliminated a lot of amigos. I've been dumping aluminum for a long time. I had a lot of aluminum in my body. Okay, so we can see still in slow oxidation, still in sympathetic dominance, but look at this. Iron, copper, manganese, aluminum. Look at these levels. Look at that. It's kind of a mind trip, going back and you see just how toxic the bodies are and how many metals have to be eliminated. It's a little bit of a trip. Look at that aluminum level, manganese, copper, iron. Zinc's up. I'm actually eliminating chromium too. A funny thing is that chromium and selenium can also be oxide forms. So people can actually be exposed to toxic forms of selenium and chromium, and they'll eliminate them. So I'm eliminating chromium, eliminating manganese, copper, iron, and aluminum. And this is probably the biggest dump I have had on the program ever. And certainly to date, at the test we've looked at so far, is my biggest dump. But again, forward movement, right? These massive eliminations are forward moving because it means that my body has more energy to get rid of these stored metals in my body. Okay? So this is very good. Forward moving. If we look at my NIK ratio, it flipped. So this is the first time it flipped. And it's actually down to 2. My calcium magnesium ratio is at 10. Okay. So oftentimes the sodium potassium ratio will flip as heavy metals are eliminated, because just like it props up zinc, right? Oftentimes it's also propping up your sodium potassium ratio. We call this we would call it like living on stilts, right? And oftentimes we see this often in fast oxidizers too, or people whose oxidation rate is faster than it should be. And what happens is the body absorbs these minerals to balance itself. And these heavy metals were making my sodium-potassium ratio higher than it would be otherwise. So as I eliminate these metals, it actually went lower. Okay? It's not something to be worried about, and it's actually an NAK flip, as we call it, on a retest is actually a sign of progress, and it's supposed to happen as you heal. So as this went down to 2, I switched to limb come in. So on this test, I was on a sympathetic dominance program with limb come in. So still the same megapan, thyroid complex, but instead of zinc, I was on limb come in. Okay? But again, forward movement, which is excellent. Let's go to the next one. Okay, so I'm still 24. This is, looks like June, late June 2014. And I'm almost back into 4 lows, actually. And we can see that on the test. You know, my calcium's just hanging in there. This is a 3 lows pattern. But a good thing about it is it looks like my oxidation rate increases. So I'm actually out of sympathetic dominance. You know, my potassium is up to 6. Okay, and my sodium and potassium are both higher in relation to calcium and magnesium. So that's good. This is a settling down pattern. Just like you'll notice I settled down, I had a settling down pattern after that one dump I had. After the last dump on my last test, again a settling down pattern. So kind of it dumps, it settles down, it dumps, it settles down, it dumps, it settles down. You'll see that theme as we heal, okay? But as you can see, most of the elimination is through in regards to the manganese. I'm still eliminating some manganese, okay? That's, you know, a high manganese level. You know, still eliminating a little bit of copper, quite a bit of aluminum. That's a pretty high aluminum level. But that's kind of the theme, just a settling down pattern, another deep breath, right? So you pushed out all the heavy metals, breath. Pushed out all the heavy metals, breath. Okay? And then phosphorus is still at a good level. Zinc is down because it's not being propped up, but it's not having to protect me against the heavy metals as much, right? And, you know, still a good phosphorus level. Chromium's down as well. You know, I'm not eliminating it anymore. Let's check out the ratios. So NAK is still low, but it's higher. And this is a pretty high ratio as well. So this is probably due to my lifestyle, and anytime it's above a certain threshold, we call it spiritual defensiveness. So there might have been a lifestyle kind of thing that I was dealing with that I needed to let go of in order to heal. I don't remember exactly what it was or what I was really doing at this time, but you know, I want to say there were times of pretty bad fatigue during these eliminations. When I was living the Amigos, there would be days where I'd really had trouble doing physical labor. And it was just like, you know, I just had no metabolic energy to work. And you'll go through that, and it's important, you know, to realize it's part of the healing process. When I came out of 4 lows as well, I retraced some sort of virus or infection where I was, you know, basically in bed for about a week. Not like super bedridden and ill, but, you know, I was basically just sick for like a week, and I could feel it in my body. And oftentimes as people come out of 4 lows, they do retrace infections. Okay? So again, I'm in mixed oxidation, okay? And, you know, it's still forward movement. You know, I'm on the tail end of the elimination. My sodium-potassium ratio is higher. That's forward movement, okay? And, you know, it's good. It's good. So let's go to the next one. So this is getting near the end of 2014, okay? What would it be? It'd be September, looks like. So, and I'm 24 in this, okay? So let's see what the next test is looking like. These haven't moved much, kind of the same similar pattern. At least I'm out of sympathetic dominance on this. So once I was out of sympathetic dominance, I was on Endodrin at 111. And I was taking I double the megapan dosage. I was at 222 for my megapan. Starting to eliminate copper. This is probably the biggest thing that I see on the test is the copper. Okay, that's probably the biggest thing. Okay, because this is the basically the highest level we had seen so far of my copper. And copper is actually can be hard to eliminate sometimes. Your body has to get enough strength before it starts to eliminate copper. So a lot of people have copper imbalance, and they get on a program because they want to eliminate copper. But what they don't realize is your body will eliminate other things first, like it did in my body. Before this copper level came up, my body had to dump all those other minerals because those were, what the body wanted to get rid of first. And you never know what the body's going to want to eliminate first. Okay, my manganese is also starting to go up again, eliminating that. My iron is also high, so this is somewhat of an amigo dump with mostly copper, however. It's mostly copper. Okay, and we can see that. As I said before, I've been dumping aluminum basically the whole time. It's kind of a mind trip how much aluminum I've dumped. I could probably make a soda can out of how much aluminum I've dumped. It's just the nature of the game. Aluminum's found in tap water these days. It's found in table salt. They put it in Morton salt and other salt brands sometimes, so it flows better when it gets wet. But we do what we can. It's also in vaccines, by the way. Okay, we look at this NAK ratio. See, it flipped up. So the limb did its job. It flipped it back over 3.4. Calcium magnesium ratio is a little lower. Still not where it should be, but I am what I am. What can I say? Best to be truthful in all things. And I want to say, throughout all these tests, I wasn't doing the program 100%. To be honest with you, I was usually doing about a coffee enema a day, and then for the first year or two, I was usually in the sauna twice a day. In this test, I was using sauna once a day. Usually I'd wake up, use the sauna, then do a coffee enema, or I'd wake up and do a coffee enema, and then in the evening I would do a sauna session for about 30-40 minutes. I also meditate while I did the coffee enema, and I was meditating. One of these reasons why I'm healing so good is both because I have more energy to heal with than some people, and I'm very good at pushing energy downwards. And what I mean by that is that I can move energy downwards pretty powerfully. And people overlook that, but moving energy downwards, doing the pushing exercise is extremely powerful. We can see that, right? Even though during this time, one of these tests, I was still drinking and smoking pot once in a while. Some nights I would stay up late with my friends and I would smoke some pot and I would drink some beers. There are even a couple times during these tests, I would say at least 4 or 5 times where I got drunk. You know what I mean? So I wasn't doing the program perfect. Not every night I was going to bed early. I wasn't doing as many coffee enemas as I could have been. I wasn't eating as many cooked vegetables as I could have been. Okay? But again, forward movement, and we can see the forward movement on the test. So I'm in mixed oxidation like I have been in the last 2 tests before this. And this should resolve itself at some point. But mixed oxidation basically is this. Usually calcium magnesium will be higher than sodium and potassium, and that's slow oxidation. Sodium and potassium will be higher than these two, and that'll be fast oxidation. Okay, and anytime they're kind of skewed, it's mixed oxidation. Because you see these are kind of level, so it's mixed oxidation. So it just means it's like a mix of both the oxidative types, right? You're not either really in fast or slow. But also, it's important to realize that in mixed oxidation, you can lean more towards the slow or the fast. So even though I'm in mixed oxidation, we can see due to calcium being that high, I'm definitely more towards the slow oxidizer. Okay, so I was on a slow oxidizer program. Just a standard slow oxidizer program with zinc because my NAK flipped. Anytime the NAK flips on a test, and when someone's following a program, it's a good sign. Especially when it flips up. Okay, so I went from 2.17, it flipped over the threshold, which is 2.5. So I went from limb to zinc. Okay, and that's a flip up of the NAK, which is a good sign. Okay, so let's go to my next test. Looks like this is at the very end of 2014. I'm 24, so this is December. Let's take a look here. Oh, look at that. Luke's back in 4 lows. So an interesting thing is that any 4 lows on a retest is actually a positive sign. Okay. So an interesting thing is that the body will go back into 4 lows in order to heal itself, and it tends to be a new life pattern in that the body and the soul will go into 4 lows if it heals itself enough, and it wants to go into 4 lows in order to kind of, in a lot of cases, redetermine its life path at a soul level. So that's a pretty interesting thing. You may think that this sounds strange, and I'm sure it does. If I had never heard of this and you're watching this video for the first time, me talking about these probably sounds pretty strange, but from what I have seen, it is the truth. So we see me in 4 lows. Other things that you can call, that we often call a 4 lows pattern or retest, are things like dog in a corner. Like if you think of a dog that's been injured and just crawls into the corner to heal and sleep. or like a boat on the dock, you know, to repair the boat. And basically, 4 lows is a very low energy state. And so if the body is going through a lot of deep healing, especially like spiritual healing or and things like that, it will go into 4 lows in order to not use any energy and to heal itself. So it's an interesting thing. It's almost like a bear going into hibernation. So my body's almost hibernating. It goes back into 4 lows, into the tunnel, in order to go into a low energy state and heal myself at a deep level. Okay? So I'm still eliminating some aluminum. Like I said, aluminum just does not stop. I'm just always eliminating aluminum. Phosphorus is kind of high, actually. Sometimes phosphorus will go above 16, and this means the body's actually breaking down and catabolizing old toxic tissue. So I'm going into 4 lows. I'm going through a little bit of development, what we call development or pre-development, by my phosphorus going up. And my zinc's higher, probably to protect myself. And yeah, good stuff. I mean, it's forward movement. And it sounds strange, but going into 4 lows on a retest is always a good sign. Okay? See, my NAK ratio is still high at 3, and this came down a lot. I don't remember what I was doing at the time, but, you know, probably maybe following a healthier lifestyle on this pattern, whatever I was doing, right? And yeah, can't say I remember any specific symptoms that have to do with this one, except that, you know, I was sleeping more, definitely on the 4 lows program, and I felt a little bit calmer, you know. But again, forward movement. Calcium magnesium ratio is lower, NAK is still good, and going into 4 lows on a retest is a celebration pattern. So this is actually a celebratory test, believe it or not. And let's go to the next one. Okay. Oop, too big. So I came out of 4 lows. So I went into 4 lows for a test and I came out. And coming out of 4 lows on a retest is also a celebration pattern. And look at this. For the first time in my life, I am eliminating a significant amount of copper. Look at that. Makes me so proud. Look at that copper level. That's a good copper elimination, man. That's good. That's great. Coming out of 4 lows and dumping a ton of copper. That's an excellent retest. Very forward movement. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Not a lot of change in these. You know, zinc's about the same, iron's the same, phosphorus about the same. Still in sympathetic dominance, so on this I was on a sympathetic dominance program. Aluminum's a little bit lower. NAK 3.5, so still high, still on zinc. And then calcium magnesium ratio, still pretty good. That's not too bad of a calcium magnesium ratio. But I'm in, you know, very slow oxidation, you know. Anytime your calcium potassium ratio is this high and your sodium magnesium ratio is this low, you know, you're in very slow oxidation. So, and you can see, you know, I'm still in very slow oxidation, so you can see how long it's taking for me to come out of burnout. I'm having to eliminate all these amigos, all these heavy metals, all this copper is having to come out. I'm having to retrace 4 lows. Still not out of burnout. Even to this day, I'm still not completely out of burnout, people. And it's a trip, man. It takes years and years to really heal the body to a deep level. But I can tell you throughout this whole process, my brain's working better and better. I feel stronger and stronger. My immune system's better. My body. One thing that's interesting about when my body started to eliminate copper is that my body is still doing this. It's detwisting. So as I started to eliminate this copper and I was meditating, I realized there's basically scoliosis I didn't even know about. And my neck is not centered on my body correctly. There's a twist in my spine and my hips are torqued. And but actually meditating and getting chiropractic and getting Rolfing, my body's actually untwisting as the copper is eliminating. Because copper is actually associated with all these sort of scoliosis and structural deformities. Okay? And my body is still detwisting. When I go like this, for example, in the shower, you probably hear, I don't know if you can hear that pop, but and I go like this, and I'm popping my neck into better alignment. You know, spinal twist is excellent too. I do the spinal twist maybe 4 times a day because it really helps me a lot. Rolfing is excellent. I have an excellent Rolfer here in Nevada County. I also have a good chiropractor, which I am blessed with both of them. And, you know, That's probably the biggest thing on this test, is just really realizing as I eliminated the copper how messed up my structure was. Okay, my jaw clicks, you know, all sorts of things. Okay, but again, forward movement, coming out of 4 loads, eliminating all this copper. Those are the 2 biggest things. Still in slow oxidation, sympathetic dominance. Next test, here we go. So I'm even more out of 4 lows. Looks like my oxidation rates increased a little bit. Probably at the tail end of the copper dump, but this is still good, still eliminating all that copper. Phosphorus is about the same. Selenium's up a little bit. That's good. That's probably one of the highest levels my selenium has been. Selenium is an important mineral, and you know, similar zinc level, similar kind of thing. Basically, the theme of this is continue to eliminate copper, going through the copper dump, farther away from 4 lows, and that nickel elimination is pretty significant. Still eliminating aluminum, you know, as always. You know. But it is what it is, right? And you'll notice how I'm not too attached to these results. You know, I'm just saying I'm doing the best I can. And that's a very important concept. This is just a representation of how well your body's adapting to stress. And a lot of times people get attached to, oh, I'm in 4 lows for this long, or I'm still in slow oxidation. But it's important to not get too attached, right? You just do the program the best you can, and people will heal at their own rate. And you can't force change sometimes, you know. And just stressing about your test is only going to make you worse. Okay? So we see my calcium, my sodium potassium ratio still high, still on zinc. And this is high again. You know, I can't remember exactly what I was doing at this time, like I was saying, but, you know. And then, you know, still a lot of nickel. I've eliminated quite a bit of nickel. A lot of times when people eliminate nickel, they can feel depression symptoms. I can't say I remember ever feeling them, but it's important to point that out. But again, forward movement, right? I'm still eliminating a lot of copper, farther out of 4 lows. Let's go to the next test. This one I'm actually closer to being in 4 lows here. You know, but my oxidation rate increased a lot, which is good. Okay, so we see, you know, sodium and potassium both went up quite a bit. You know, my potassium doubled. Okay, so, and as calcium came down too, that's a faster oxidation rate. Copper is finally down, so I'm, you know, at the end of that first copper dump. Okay, so that was my first real copper dump. Okay, which is good. Hey, look at that! I have a Facebook notification. I don't care. Go away. You know, selenium's up. You know, look at that. Selenium continues to go up. Better selenium level in my tissues. That's an excellent sign. You know, still good phosphorus. You know, you've seen I've had a pretty good zinc and phosphorus level this whole time. Still eliminating aluminum, and and then my nickel came down a little bit. Still eliminating quite a bit of nickel. That's good though. They're coming out, right? Nickel's coming out. Always good. Then we see, after the copper dump, so you'll notice this. After that huge amigo dump I had, my sodium potassium ratio flipped down because it wasn't being propped up, right? Same thing happened after that huge copper dump. So after both of my biggest dumps, okay, my sodium potassium ratio went below 2.5, and I went back on limb coming. And this happens, you know, oftentimes people will go into 4 lows, their sodium potassium ratio will flip down. They'll go out of fast oxidation to slow oxidation, or their oxidation rate will really decrease. And this is part of the body releasing compensations, because your body uses metals to compensate for low ratios. Your body uses copper to raise this ratio. As you eliminate copper, the toxic copper, this ratio will lower. And then you have to raise it back up. And as you raise it back up, your body will heal another layer. Okay. Seesawing. Constant seesawing. Okay, better calcium-magnesium ratio. So again, still forward movement. NAK flip, this time it's down. Copper dumps over, increasing the oxidation rate. Next test. I think this is the last one. This is my most recent one. I actually said my hair test in the male. So I should have a new one for you guys. Maybe I'll just make a video on my most recent one soon. Okay. And here it is. Copper is back up, baby. So my copper is back up. Eliminated a lot of copper. I'm farther out of 4 lows. Back in sympathetic dominance, however. And really that's the theme. You know, another copper dump. I'm just basically right now I'm just dumping copper. My body's getting bouncing its copper, which is good. My NIK ratio is up, which is good. You know, it's a little higher, getting closer to that threshold. And I'm eliminating aluminum again, of course. Right? I'm always eliminating aluminum. But it's good. So that's the theme. Right now I'm dumping copper. During this test and my last test, I've retraced 2 infections. An old ear infection right here, and a sinus infection that I retraced, which were pretty tough. You know, as the copper is associated with all sorts of like fungal issues and infections, and as you eliminate copper, your body will retrace infections. And that's what happens when your sodium potassium ratio flips down. So I flipped down as I eliminated copper, and I retraced a couple infections. But the limb come and helped my immune system, okay? And then I'll do a video probably on my next test, and we'll see how I'm doing, right? But the theme right now is eliminating a lot of copper, and my structure is really still detwisting. I twist my neck every day. I do a spinal twist every day. I get chiropractic work done, and I get Rolfing done. It's really helping me. And I've retraced a couple infections too. So that's it. That's all my hair test. As you can see, eliminated a lot of metals, and it's cool to see someone making progress on a test and see what it's supposed to look like. Okay. So comment down below if you have any questions. Don't forget to subscribe, like the video, and I will see you guys next time.